Hello. Um, I'm making this video because I had discussions with a couple of people, a couple of friends of mine, and we was all talking about marriage. And I noticed lately a lot of people have developed a concept that I feel that is not it's not true to what marriage is and what it's about, why you get married, and the things that you do, to seek out a partner. And most of the people, I'm talking about the whole majority, is like, and I hear it on the net a lot, I hear it on TV, and it's talking about you marry somebody who has the same value as you do. And the value they bring up, the most thing, I mean, it's talked about is your income, your status, that you don't marry someone who don't have the same quality of income, the same quality of status. I mean, I even had friends to tell me, oh, yeah, you gotta be able to, or you gotta have, or they should have, she should have, he should have. And I'm talking about these are the viewpoints of women and men. And I remember, I mean, growing up, I remember the only thing that you marry a person for is if y'all love each other. That material and hopes and wishes and dreams does not really matter. But then again, once again, hopes and wishes and dreams. Like for instance, y'all both dream about have owning a house or whatever, or doing, yeah, that counts. But love is the main thing and the only reason why you marry somebody, why you get in that union. It's not about if she makes as much as you do, or if he makes this amount of money, or whatever. The concept of business, joining a business together, that all of that does not matter from my learning of growing up and getting married to someone. And I think, you know what, it was not mine. It was a community. The black community had that within themselves, that you marry for love. It wasn't about wealth. We had a couple of black, I'm going to say it this way. Since a lot of black people been on TV and had platforms, they just seem to be spewing division between the people, the black community. I'm going to go back for when you was in school and you learned something in school and you was in a certain grade within that school. Everybody knew what the curriculum was. Everybody knew they was taught a certain way. And then once you left school and got into society, went out as being an adult, you start adjusting a certain way. You start learning different things. You started noticing that a lot of things in school was not helpful and it was not beneficial, not knowingly. But then you learned that getting up and going to school is equivalent to getting up and going to work. And getting up and going to school also helped you at work be tolerant to a boss, somebody who's over you. And then you learn that work. You learn what you have to do to keep that job. And It's the same thing as the lessons in school. Then the environment of people, different attitudes, different things. You learn how to deal with all of that and associate and become almost like a remote, like you did in school. So it was helpful, you know, adjusting into society. And then there were some people who got swayed from society. They just it didn't click. And they went an opposite way. And you could see some of them fail. You look at it and say, oh, they failed. You know, they got tired. And some people went downhill. Some people managed, you know. Excuse me. But what I'm trying to get at is a lot of people say marriage is a business. You know, it's a business deal. And we all have to look at it as, excuse me, my throat is like getting clogged up. We all have to look at it as you marry somebody, you get the business. It's like a business going, and you have to work on it, and so much. You know, give me a second. You have to work on it. You have to work on marriage. And I have seen people on TV, and they've been married for years, and they ask them how you manage to keep your marriage going. And you know what they said? Well, you have to work on it. And people took it as a job. No. What they were saying was there are odds, there's so many things that are going to come up against you, and so many trials and tribulations, and people try to get in between that union that you have, especially if you have someone who, that love, people try to destroy love. I mean, even now, they will have a man who loves a woman and do anything for him. You know, they call him, oh, you a simpleton. You're weak. And so you got all these brothers like, oh, I gotta be tough. I gotta make sure that she understands that this is not gonna flow this way. This is not how it's gonna be. You know, she's gonna have to do this and do that, right? And then they tell her, oh, if a man have you do this, or a man have you do that, they are trying to control you. They trying to pimp you out. So you got to make sure that he understands that you're not weak. You know, that you're an independent woman. So then she start going off on him. You see, and it's a battle between each other. And these brothers and sisters are just tearing each other apart. And it's like hate. But then you meet this brother who has this plan of wealth, and you meet the sister like, oh, I'm like with you. You know, I'm doing the same thing. And then they hook up. But there's no love there. It's just love for the job and what they wish to obtain. Not love for each other. Not love for each other. Then they get there, they make it, right? Some don't. Some are actually being conned, but you get the ones who make it, and they're married, and the marriage falls apart, and they wonder, why did our marriage fall apart? It's work. You made it work. You didn't get married. You just became a business partner. And what happens in business? You got to retire, right? When do you lay down your sword? When do you go home to relax? When work is at home. So when these Business marriages break up and a person goes away. Why is so hard feelings when a person retire? You didn't marry for love. It was a business deal. You married because this person had the same equal value as you claim you have, the same equality, which money don't make you a good person or a quality person. It's what's within and what you put out into the world. We all know some tyrants with money. We all know some pieces of garbage with money. You see, they've been putting us up on TV nowadays. They didn't have us on TV back in my days. It was rare you see us on TV. When they used to put us on TV, there's something happened in the neighborhood and they find the crackhead of the neighborhood, the junkie person, the person who's on drugs, and they put them on TV and that person be telling the story about what really happened, but it don't really be on point. And you know what the people in the neighborhood, the people in the black community say? They be like, oh my God, why they always put the worst one of us up there? Why they always put the one who looks the worst, and they look like they find that person. They find that person, they'll throw them up there and they be like, and they telling, and everyone in the neighborhood like, oh my God, did you see so-and-so on the TV? And they like, yeah. And we be like, now the whole world thinks that we're garbage, you know. You know what they said, my brother's keeper. Black people always had that problem where we can't even be individuals. But that's another story. But now they got us on TV. Now they got us in the movies. They got us all over. And they're ripping our relationship apart. And it's part of population control. There's still racism. And it's not white people doing it. It's a lot of people who's in power who controls the mass population. If it wasn't so many of us, I guess they wouldn't even bother. But I guess because our population grows and you see how many things we developed. I mean, if you keep putting those people, if you let those people get out of control with their mind, and we compete with each other so much. If one of us can build a rocket ship that went to Mars or whatever, there'll be another one of us building one that would go to Jupiter, because that's how we are. We have been that way. We've been very competitive when it comes to ourselves, and we've also been unified, but they took that away. And they put pawns there that will guide us, like if they'll guide us to liberty, but then later on they'll tell them to have us walk off a cliff. And a lot of us been doing that, following that. But marriage has always been about love. It's never been about business or income and stuff like that. You know, back in the days, the wealthy, like dukes and duchesses, you know, people who couldn't be king and queen because, you know, there's only one king and queen. So they had to have some kind of title, you know, to keep the royal bloodline, to keep the money, you know, sacred, where they won't have to stretch it out so much, you know, between families who don't have. They always married another wealthy person because they didn't want to lose the money. And it wasn't about love. It was about arrangement. And they arrange their children to marry someone else's child. Or even if the person was older and stuff, they just married them, and it was all about wealth. And there was always a lot of cheating, you know, because the person sometimes would fall in love with someone else. And this is what they're trying to drive us to. where we end up hating. And I mean, you look at the whole thing, a lot of people, their reproduction of more of us would be very low because there would be a lot of animosity. I mean, I hear things about black women talking about they're most mistreated. And I remember black women when people were scared of them. They used to be scared of them. You know, I mean, there's things that I see them tear down. They're tearing down us as a community, black people. Uh, I saw it through the celebrities. As I said, they put them on TV. There wasn't a lot of us on TV. And now they got a whole bunch of us on TV. And a whole lot of paths for people to be influenced because we see them like, oh, how they get there? And then they show them with money and stuff. You wonder when they go to work. When did they go to work to obtain this wealth? You know, and you just don't understand. They're obtaining it because they're at work, influencing you, making you watch. While you're watching, they are at work. And that's reality. And they get paid to make you act the way they act, do the things that they do, say the things that they say, and spread it. Spread it. We used to have a lingo that no one could catch. And we used to change it up each time, each generation. You know, we used to announce a black man as a positive. It was never nigga. It was brother, which was a beautiful one. It was homeboy. It was so many other names. It was never a degrading name. And I'm going to tell you there's something this, I'm just like, so, I remember when it came in. And I remember when you couldn't call a black woman bitch. That word, ooh, you couldn't say that to a black woman. You dating her or what? I was a child. And I remember that word was not tolerated. You remember it was a white woman on TV. She played in a soap opera called Dynasty. Her name was Joan Collins. And her character was always like rough, rugged. Black women back then in the days, they used to watch a lot of soap operas, you know. And it wasn't black people up there, but they used to look at those women but they had enough sense to know where something was fake. Even Public Enemy came out where some had got caught up and they said, made Channel Zero. That's what Channel Zero was about. But it was a song called Channel Zero. But that word, Joan Collins, an actress, they interviewed her. I forgot what show they interviewed her on. And you know what she said? And had a lot of black women like, what the fuck? She said, when they asked her, they said, how are you? She said, I'm a bitch. On national TV. An interview, she said, I'm a bitch. And I was like, you couldn't really curse like that on TV. You know, they had a lot of regulations. And you would be like, wow, America was like that. They had a lot of regulations. And she said those words. And I mean, you should have seen black mothers, black women. It was you know, you could listen, but you couldn't, they never let you listen. But I've heard the responses. Then they was like, nah, nah, we never let nobody call us a bitch. You couldn't call a black woman a bitch. Only the only black man that was doing that and it was degrading was a pimp. And he would not do that to a normal black woman because he knew he'll get struck. And let me tell you something, the black woman used to get into a fight with a black man or a situation, there was always another black man, like a whole bunch of them would stand and wait. And any one of them was just waiting just to see if that black man swings back. If he swings back right or wrong, you had a posse coming across the street ready to take him down. And right or wrong, you'll have some that would step in, hey, brother, don't. Because there was rules and regulations. Women rights, there's BS and all this. Oh, you want to be like a man, We have gotten away from so much of what we were. And every time they talk about our culture, they will bring up, our culture and stuff, and they talk about Africa and stuff like that. None of us knew what Africa was. I'm talking about Black America. We have a culture in Black America, and they keep bringing, every time we bring up what we used to do, how we used to be, what we used to be, somebody would throw out, say, hey, but you were a slave, or remember slavery? None of it, you don't remember that shit. You don't remember, you know it happened. You acknowledge it happened, but we had a culture after that, a way of life that we stand. And it wasn't about who's the worst person or what block was worse. It was about love. It was about how we did things, how our grandparents raised us and how we carried on. It seemed like more of the fake people end up taking over and inspiring how we live. And you know what I'm talking about, fake people. I'm talking about like when you used to go to school and you couldn't afford, because when you were, black people don't act like they don't remember poverty when they still in it. You're still poor. You're still struggling. You're still trying to make it. I'm talking about them fake ones now. When you used to go to school and they had the latest clothes and stuff because they went and spent their entire household furniture money on getting the latest sneakers, whatever. Who inspired them? Where they get the knowledge to just get those things, like, that's how you're supposed to be, whatever's more expensive, and they used to walk around with it in school like, I'm rich and this and that. But they just poor as the next person, live in the same freaking building, right next door. But you're looking at them like they wealthy because they got on sneakers that somebody decided to make overpriced and claim value because it's overpriced. Something that you wasn't fool enough, or your parents wasn't dumb enough to go and buy and spend money on when they had more important things to purchase. I'm talking about those people have taken over. Well, I'm jumping all around the place, but the thing is, marriage has always been about love, because when it comes down to the hardship of this world and what you're going through, you're going to need somebody that understands, somebody who can help you through life mentally, physically and spiritually, something that money can't buy. Because life, you cannot purchase life. When a person is gone, there ain't no money gonna bring them back, no wealth. You go home, you're supposed to be able to lay down your sword. You're not supposed to be worried about getting stabbed in the back. Your wife is supposed to be honored, and so is the husband. You're supposed to have some form of privacy, personal, with your children and your home life, making memories. You're not supposed to be living a life of thinking that you have to get over on everybody just to obtain a few dollars that you're going to spend on things that is created here in life to hold and keep a lot of people under. I just see a lot of my brothers and sisters hating and fighting each other. And when I think about the civil rights, and y'all even look back and y'all talk about Black Wall Street and stuff like that, there was a unity, and the unity started at home. And I see a lot of y'all don't even have a home life, a foundation on which you stand. They talk about black men leaving black women and to raise the kids alone. Y'all knew what your daddy was. Y'all knew who he was. He was right next door because his black ass couldn't leave nowhere. He didn't have no money. Y'all knew who he was. Your mother was just not dealing with him. She had somebody else. Even though he was not home, y'all knew his name. You knew where he was. You let the media pretend like he just disappeared. It's time that black people stop being real, start being truthful with who we are. And it's time we stop spilling our community out onto the net. Because after they know what you eat, I hear people now, I never ate chitlins. That's what they say. I never ate chitlins, hog maw, stuff like that. Okay, so you're not eating it, right? Why is it so expensive? Oxtails and stuff. And they say, that's slave food, that's slave food. They keep going back to slavery, man. Keep going back to something they didn't. I'm going to debunk that right now. Okay? Black people was farmers. All right? And on a farm, if you kill a cow or kill a pig, whatever, you kill a certain amount for the year, for your family. Okay? For the meals. You eat every piece of that beast. You didn't take the choice cuts and throw the rest away. That's how we end up eating chitlins and all kinds of stuff y'all say is slave food that was thrown to us. No, that's how you eat. That's how you feed your family. Imagine you just ate the choice cuts. Then what are you raising? Your whole livestock will be gone. your whole everything would be you wasn't straight out killing. Just like, okay, my grandma and stuff, they used to talk about that we was here. And just like you heard, the Indian tribes, when they killed the buffalo, they ate the whole damn beast. They ain't just kill one buffalo this week and go to another one next week. No, they ate the whole freaking buffalo. And it lasts for the years sometimes. You don't kill like that. You don't kill like that. That's how you end up with your chitlins and your hog maws and stuff like that. That's how we end up eating it. Because we are not killers. We never have been. Wasteful and just destroying nature. I started this video talking about marriage and stuff like that, and how it's about love and not about wealth. I don't know, I just switch over because a lot of things on my mind, and I see that a lot of the black community is fading away. And you know, my brothers and sisters, and you just gotta remember who you are. Our life, our culture, you know, we went through a lot. We acted like Hollywood. We being fake. We just hating on each other. We are hating on each other. Every one of us come from out of the womb of a black woman. And mom is always there, you know, because that's where we came from. I don't know. I hope and I pray that we could get back to who we are and what we are. And it has nothing to do with being the N-word. I'm gonna tell you, when they was not, get back to that, they was never able to push that on us. You know that? We used to call brothers and all that. It was never N-word. You know when that came out? My generation, Generation X. And even when they came out, we was like, wow, how did... And they got airtime. NWA. When other rappers was just as good, they never got it. They never got the airtime, but they got the airtime, they got the publicity, and they could think, oh, we fought for that. You're used. They was used. Richard Pryor used to say it a lot in jokes and stuff like that, Red Fox, all of them, and they still wouldn't get us to do it to each other. Even with the comedians we love, they couldn't get us to just do that word to each other. But music, see, we are musical people, and they learned. And with music, they was able to push it. Like a lot of things they push it now is in the music. So every time you listen to something, and I mean, we used to have love songs to tell you, your heart get broken, and you could listen to a love song and just ease it away. You know, a lot of people had love, but they pushing a lot of hate through music now, even through the soul music. Because music used to touch our soul. We used to call it soul music. And like, oh man, you know, and we all feel it. Y'all feel it now too. It's still touching the soul. the wrong way, though. And yeah, hopefully one day we could change that. God bless my brothers and sisters.